Thank you very much. And I do want to follow up on that, Mr. Park. You say there are a lot of hedge words in there. Vast majority of Americans, mostly working. All right, am I going to be able to go to the IRS and say it didn't work for me, I couldn't get my insurance, I'm not going to be fined? I mean, you got to tell us when it's going to be in good shape. Can you give us a date? Is the end of the month realistic?
The team's working really hard to hit that goal, and that's what I'm able to say right now, sir.
So to me, that as a former web developer, that's what I was telling clients when we were going to miss a deadline. We're working real hard to meet it. So, and I am a former web developer. I have a little, certainly nothing to this scale, but with $600 million, I probably could have put together a team to do it and do a better job. But I'm not going to really throw the contractor under the bus. I mean, I think it's too much money. I think it's a lot of issues there. But one of the biggest struggles we had when we were developing websites was getting stuff from the client, whether it was their copy for the text of the website or whether it was the specifications. The copy we could change pretty quick. We could just cut and paste it out of the email into an HTML editor or content manager. But when the actual specifications for how it goes change up to the last minute, it's very difficult to do. Mr. Chow, how late were there substantial changes being ordered to the website? Do you have a time frame? How long before that October 1st launch?
I don't think there were any substantial changes ordered. It was more a standard practice of looking at how much time you have left, watching your schedule very closely,
and then figuring out which corners
the
to
scope,
cut.
right, and the priorities that are set by the business.
All right, I want to follow up on a couple of questions that some other folks asked that I didn't think got completely answered. Mr. Jordan asked you, Mr. Chow, if it was thoroughly tested, and you said yes, it was thoroughly tested. Mr. Jordan didn't ask the next follow-up question. How did it do on those tests? Did it pass?
I think if I said thoroughly, I apologize.
Maybe he said it was tested.
It was tested under the prescribed, we were talking about security testing, so I was saying that it was tested under the prescribed security controls.
And let me follow up with Mr. Park on something Mr. Langford asked. He was concerned about either members of your team or other folks having access to sensitive data. And on those days you were sleeping on the floor, could you have walked into a server with a thumb drive and walked out with people's personal information like Mr. Snowden? I mean, are those security risks there?
No, I could have not, no.
Okay, well, that's a little bit reassuring. Let me also ask Mr. Chow or Mr. Powner, with respect to the private sector, if there's a data breach or a compromise, your credit card information or your personal information gets released, there's a federal law requiring notice. I just got a notice from a major software company that my credit card had been compromised. Will we find out if our information on Healthcare.gov is compromised? Is there a notice requirement? Is there something in place where we'll know if that information has been hacked and is public?
Yes, there are actually several laws and rules that apply, particularly with disclosing any incident or breach that involves a person's.
Okay, so there are no special exemptions in Obamacare under that. We will hopefully find out. Again, I'm just concerned. We're at a time right now where the trust in government has never been lower. We have the whole NSA Snowden incident. We have the IRS looking at people for political purposes. So, you'll excuse me if I'm concerned that we've got a massive website that's a target for hackers, that a lot of people have information to, that by definition reaches out and touches the IRS and Social Security computers. Whenever you connect computers together, you open pathways to hackers. So, I'm very concerned about the security issues. I just want to make sure we're going to know if there's some problems and they're not going to be swept under the rug for political purposes.
No, we work closely with Frank Bateman's security operations at the department level, as well as an extensive computer.
All right, and then finally, Mr. Chow, you stated earlier in your testimony that the anonymous shopping feature, which I would love to see, I don't think it's even in place now, but it was disabled, before the election. And, you know, we can talk about political purposes or not.
I think
You said it wouldn't
the
work.
gentleman is saying before the October
Right.
1st launch.
Yeah, before the October.
Yes.
So it was deleted. But why wasn't the October 1st deadline pushed back? Because it didn't work. I mean, why wasn't the whole thing delayed? When you delayed the anonymous shopping part, the part we'd all feel most safe about, going finding out how much it'll cost without revealing personal information, you delayed it for that. Why didn't you delay the whole thing when you knew it wasn't going to work?
I think anonymous shopper was a very narrow slice of looking at what the trade-offs would be in putting something into production as opposed to.
Now, again, I'm sorry I'm out of time, but I do want to say with my lack of trust in the Federal Government now, I'm loath to put my personal information in and would love to shop anonymously just like I did on some of the private exchanges in Texas as I look for what I'm going to do about my personal health care. I don't think you have to give up your personal information to get prices for something. You don't have to do it on airline websites, you don't have to do it on Amazon, and you shouldn't have to do it on Healthcare.gov, and I'll yield back.